All right, everybody. So I'm welcome you to the Global Proptech Online and about the topic blockchain and the real estate lifecycle. Before I get started, I quickly would like to introduce myself. My name is Achim Jedelsky. I'm co-founder and president of FIBREE. That's a foundation for international blockchain and real estate expertise. And I got into blockchain about a bit more than 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And I'm employed at Daimler Real Estate. That's a corporate real estate branch of Daimler, the car maker. And so I had the chance to get the first involvement at Daimler by winning an innovation award with the blockchain subject. And parallel to that, I started outside of my day job, the Blockchain for Real Estate meetup in Berlin, where I meanwhile have like more than 1,000 members coming to my meetups. Well, not 1,000 at a time, but up to hundreds. And I'm as well co-founder of the German Blockchain Association. So I hope I can give you some insight in blockchain and especially in the use of blockchain real estate. One more word regarding FIBREE, the organization I co-founded earlier this year. So although we're quite young, we're now already active in 14 countries with more than 20 chapters with 20 locations. And so if you're interested in getting to learn more about blockchain real estate, please contact us. We probably have someone close to your place, or maybe you're interested in getting active in FIBREE, and so you're welcome to contact us as well, and maybe opening a new chapter. So what do I want to talk about? I have 3 main topics. I'll start with a few key characteristics of blockchain. So to just give a very basic foundation for the following topics, which is then the context of the real estate lifecycle. So where do I see blockchain in the real estate lifecycle? And finally, I like to show you a kind of an application. So how do you get started? And especially that's from my point of view as a corporate, how do you get this in an existing organization, something like blockchain to work, and at least how you can get started with it. So talking about blockchain, so what is it actually? I usually just talk about 3 key characteristics. It's a distributed ledger. So that means there's no single point of failure. It's immutable, and it allows direct transactions. Very importantly, blockchain is not something you should use for anything. It's really, that's a challenge to figure out where do you actually like to use it, where does it make sense, and where does it actually support your business case, or in the best case, creates a new business case. So I will quickly go over this. So talking about distributed ledger, often people say distributed database. Talking about blockchain, I prefer ledger, because this gives you quite the idea that it's about information to store, like transaction information, for example. It's not about storing your kind of a full picture library or something like that. And this picture you see is a nice comparison between the centralized, decentralized, and distributed networks. Interesting enough, it's a picture from the 1960s. So it's something that is around for a while. And obviously you see on the left side the central database structure or network structure, which is very quick, very fast. Today we really can do great things with that. It's very, very user-friendly, but obviously it has one central point of failure. And next to that, in the middle, you see the decentralized network, which is maybe comparable with a corporate network with different departments. So if there one is attacked, for example, it doesn't really matter so much for the other departments, but still it's kind of interconnected. And on the right side, you see the distributed ledger, which is the idea of blockchain, to have a net of different nodes connected. And so if one node is inactive, it doesn't really matter. And in the case of blockchain, you have all the information of the blockchain stored in each of these nodes. So you really can rely that the information is not jeopardized here. Talking about immutability, this is obviously the function that gave blockchain the name. So you save the data in a like in a serial way, so after each other, and interconnect them with a cryptographic hash value, so you can determine if anything has been changed. So if you just change a dot of an information within the blockchain, the hash is completely different, and it can be traced that there has been something changed, and the network will show you, we kind of recognize this as false information. And talking about direct transaction, we come to the most famous application of blockchain. So basically, it was made for that, like for example, for the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, which enables like peer-to-peer networks to make direct, safe transaction of values in like any size. So it doesn't matter if you transfer 1 cent or like 1 billion, it's the same action being done. And obviously that gives you quite some possibility to use that for your business processes. So all that talk, as I said, it's just like a really basic, very basic overview of the capabilities. I always like that, to keep that in mind when you talk about the applications, because you should match like the strength of blockchain with the use of blockchain as well. And so the next step is to understand, if you look at the real estate life cycle, so that's something people from the real estate area probably know. It's like the way you or we work with a piece of real estate from building it up to demolition. And around that, I put like different use cases allocated to these 5 segments where I see a potential to use blockchain for. So what I will do now is like I will go through these 5 segments, and based on this 3 criteria I just mentioned, I will kind of give you a quick overview where the challenges and where the opportunities in using that in that context, and maybe where we are currently at that stage. So if you're looking at the first segment, it's kind of the classic application for blockchain, starting with the land registry. You kind of understand quickly, I did mention about the ledger quality of the blockchain, something you cannot change, a digital value you cannot change for the first time you have something like that. And obviously it would be nice to use that for high values like land registry. It is immutable, so you can rely on the information and you don't have this single point of failure. The challenge here, and therefore we don't really see that yet, and in my opinion we won't see that in a very time soon, is like it's a big effort, because either you have countries that already have a proper system in place and they don't see a big need in changing that, or you have a country that doesn't have anything in place and kind of adjusted to this kind of state of maybe corruption or whatever. So it's kind of hard to get into this both systems and change it. And even if you manage to do that in one country, you have the challenge that it's quite difficult to scale that, to go to someone else and to go to another country with the same idea from, for example, from Germany. Like it will be very difficult. And yes, I guess the slides will be available at the end regarding the question. So going to the second segment, planning and design. So we have another hot topic like the BIM, the Building Information Model, which can be connected to that, and obviously anything that is connected to collaboration or intellectual property. As well, you can guarantee higher transparency using blockchain, and with the character of this distributed network, you obviously can also support like the collaboration during planning. But again, you have a kind of a challenge to get the regulation in place. So just think about like ideally you would like to do your planning works and get them ready and just submit them to the planning authorities. In that case, they need to obviously like regulate that and agree with like using that technology. And again, here we have quite some challenges. I see. I mentioned the regulation quite a bit here. I don't really see it as a negative thing. It's just something in that case that is missing. And so in a way, to have a regulation is a positive thing, because you can at least build something on top of it. But as long as you don't really have that, I see that as a challenge. In the third segment, the construction and refurbishment, it's probably the hottest topic regards to blockchain, because here I place the tokenization. So how do you get funding from many people for property? And how do you kind of split the ownership of one big property into many small parts so that it's accessible to more or less everyone, everywhere? That's a very nice idea. It's helps you to be, to make some real estate liquid. It could help you to make it more transparent, but again, obviously, and that's where it's currently the solution we see around kind of stop more or less, because the regulation is not really there yet. Usually startups who use tokenization for real estate, they avoid selling that to private people, like to you and me, because there we don't really have the regulation in place to make that happen. There's enough protection around, but for institutional users, it might be easier to get into this, and therefore I see rather like this kind of technical changes on an institutional level. So more or less like a tokenization of financial assets that include real estate, and less on really like that you as an owner tokenize your asset, your house in many tokens. That maybe will come once the regulation actually allows that. And occupational management and use, this is probably where you see a lot of, because we have a lot of processes in that field, like existing big systems, and that need to be trusted. And so if you could really install some blockchain layer around the management of real estate, so that would mean, like, in case you sell a real estate, people could really trust that the information that is stored through a blockchain can just be trusted and can be taken with the building. That would kind of really help a lot, like reduce the cost and the effort to manage real estate, and it would increase the transparency as well, because my opinion, like, you have a lot of intransparency in this field, which drives up the cost. As a problem, or like the challenge again here, is like we have the incumbents, like companies who already run a lot of facility management, and in Germany we have the utility cost as a very problematic situation, where the interest to change something is very little by the people who own the market, more or less. And it will take a while for them to move, and for like smaller companies to actually get some traction. And finally, demolition and recycling. Here you see, obviously, I mean, again, you have like the transparency that a digital solution like blockchain could offer, especially if you think about a life cycle of a building, like 30 plus years. And like distributed information, so it's not like only linked to one entity, not only to the one owner, but even like to all the owners of the future owners. They also can kind of rely on the information stored in a blockchain. Again, you see the problem with the regulation, maybe as well, like just thinking about like that technology itself is still quite young. So, and we talk about, as I said, like 30 years or plus or more, like, so how do you know that this kind of stored information will be really available in 30 years? And if the blockchain we know today will be the same in 30 years. So obviously that's a challenge for that as well. We would need regulation to kind of lay the ground for something like that. So all this, I guess it was maybe an overview, maybe like it's not very into depth yet. So therefore I want kind of quickly talk about like an example use case, something which is based on my experience, how I did my first blockchain use case within Daimler. And I hope I can give you some kind of idea how to get started with something like that. Because what I mostly see blockchain as just as a general innovation. It's just a challenge to innovate in an existing system, in an existing company. And blockchain, I think, is maybe a bit particular there because it's not so easy to understand, or like for many people, it feels like a bit weird. But still, if you're in a corporate environment or in a company, you still have to deal with the existing system. So in my case, when I come up with a project, first thing people ask is, so how much does it, how long does it take? How much does it cost? And what are your goals with it? These are really questions hard to answer when I want to start a blockchain project, because I actually don't know how long it takes. I don't know what it costs, and the goals, that depends on the success of the innovation project. So, and after, in the beginning, I was a bit avoided to answer this question. Then I said, okay, I need to answer this question if I want to go ahead with the innovation project. And so I tweaked them as much as I could. So I said, I keep it very short. So maybe like 12 weeks. I really squeeze it together as much as possible. I make it as cheap as possible. Either I do it myself or I get someone in who is really keen to help me. So like obviously a lot of startups are that to work with corporates. And instead of kind of proposing that we save a lot of money, I said, no, we probably don't save anything. Maybe yes, but not for sure, not now. And the goal I put out was like to learn. We want to learn how to use blockchain, how to use an innovation in our context. And even if we don't manage to pull anything off, we still have the learning effort result in the end. And so by doing that, choose your battleground. Yes, that's a very important part. So if you get started, especially with something you really eager about, something you want to really try out and show everyone how great it is, still you should choose something very easy, something safe, and something where you try to demonstrate what are the strengths of this innovation. So in blockchain case, for example, and on top of that, just sell a vision. So once you make the first step, what is the vision you can maybe transport with it as well. And again, like learning is the biggest benefit of innovation, because like what the current hype we see, especially I think, well not especially, but as well in real estate, is people want to innovate, but often, in my experience, it is not understood that this is a constant situation we will have for the rest of our working lives, probably, that we will keep on innovating. We will keep on working with new innovations. And so to learn how to do that is the biggest asset you can possibly have within your company. And so you need to have it with everyone, with all the employees. You can't just have like a digital department who runs it. No, you need to have every area of your company, every employee should understand how to do that, and do that in his or her small kind of ecosystem. So again, this was like a bit of general talk about like where I see that and how to approach that. And now I want to quickly dive into actually what I did. So in the context of Daimler, like the car maker Daimler, we have like a holding company in Germany that holds the German property. And that property is rented out to the other entities of the corporation, which you see in that diagram here. So what I proposed or wanted to do with this current system, so to reduce the effort, to increase the transparency, and to gain insights. So these were like the goals of a use case with blockchain for internal lease contracts. And what we have here, so we have like a current database of information where we have all the square meters we rent out and everything around the property stored. The owner takes this information, checks it, puts it together, so what is actually rented out. Accounting is checking that information, and the tenant gets the information, signs it off, and then the payment has been scheduled. So that's the existing system, and what I propose to do with the blockchain solution is to kind of make it shorter, like to make it quicker ideally, and to omit like all this kind of signing off processes which we have internally, which maybe takes a week. So with a solution like that, we could do it in a couple of hours, probably maybe less. because we don't even need to trust it anymore because the information is checked already. This is actually like, so this use case is completed, so it's closed. Now I have something that I can show around in that context. And obviously it's not in production, and it is still quite a challenge to put that into production because you need to put it into a corporate IT landscape. And that is quite a pain, but still we learned already something. We already had some insights how we use that better. And so little by little, I believe that this kind of project is only the first step in kind of using technology like that in a context of a corporate. And I forgot to mention like the vision I had behind this. And I think that this is like, for me, the biggest driver. So once we have this in a corporate environment and in a system where everybody trusts each other, but we actually have that put to work, then we could think about to include external landlords, external tenants into that network. And then this is not only a corporate network, no, it's a blockchain-driven network. So we can offer anyone who's a partner with us to run his own node, to become a member or a partner in this blockchain, or just use that neutral layer of a blockchain. And so do rent contracts over that neutral layer and kind of deliver trust with a blockchain solution. So that's it. But before I leave, just one more thing. I think I mentioned some of this already, but I rather say twice than not at all. It's very important, especially in that context of the hype that we've seen with blockchain, that to be very honest, it is not the blockchain that helps us. It is like the use case you can power with the blockchain. And these use cases are, I think, in my opinion, mostly a bit far away from that what we know today. And so we probably have some small steps in between, like something like I described right now might be the first step, and there may be some smaller steps in between where we use blockchain just like a normal IT tool, not normal process management tool, workflow tool. But at some point we should still kind of work on this vision and to show people where we could maybe end up. But for now, I think it doesn't help to oversell on that. Again, like the innovation is key. So just the approach, to train the approach, how to deal with something like blockchain, to build a free-to-fail culture around that. So to help people to understand, to learn, but to understand as well that failure is better soon than not at all. Especially in a corporate environment, I think it's quite important to understand this because usually their failure is something that kind of costs your bonus at the end of the year, so you don't want to have that. Then to look around, and so it's not only blockchain, there are other technologies out there. So in the kind of big word convergence, so all the technologies that work together, how can they interact? How can we use them for our business cases? And finally, that's a bit, yeah, well, obviously I mentioned it. I do meetups myself. I started this organization FIBREE. But I'm as well within a corporate culture, so I know both sides of like good. It's both good and bad, and I always promote to use both. And with meetups, I love it's people who meet each other after work in a maybe like here online, then offline, and just talk about a topic they like. That's a very different atmosphere as if you do something that you have to do within your job. And so I recommend for everyone to just use that. It's mostly free and you can just try it out. And for me, it was always very inspiring and helpful. So that's it for now. So I will have a quick look at the questions and answer that. I'll just read it out. I'm not sure if you can see that. Ross asked, you mentioned that if data of the blockchain is changed, the tampered blockchain is detected as false by the network. Does the network automatically monitor the blockchain to detect any tampering? Yes. So it is. The network is consists out of like multiple nodes, and each node holds all the information. So if you tamper with the information in one node, so you go there and change some information that is saved in this one node, then this node is detected within the network as a fault network, as a faulty node, and so it's excluded. The challenge there, it's obviously that's a little weak spot, kind of. So if you manage to change more than 50% of the network in 1 second, then you kind of create the new truth. So you kind of, the network, the majority has the information you just faked, and that would be the new truth. So that is kind of the problem here, but it's a huge effort to do that. And mostly it's seen as doesn't really make sense to put so much effort in changing this information. Who audits, Eric is asking, who audits the input when registering in the blockchain? Yes, that's a very good point. Sorry. That's, I guess, especially if you think about solutions like land registry or something like that, so that people don't just start kind of splitting up land new and just telling, because in the blockchain it's mine now. Obviously that's not working like that. Therefore it has to be interlinked with the governments, with the existing systems, or it has to be, in case we don't have a system, it has to be issued by the government. And that's where I see it's a bit of a challenge to use blockchain for that on a short term, but on a long term, I think it's providing a lot of benefits. Michael is asking, how fast will blockchain conquer the real estate branch? Yeah, I think it will. As I said, I think it will take a while, due to the, in a way, like the real estate industry is quite successful currently. So in general, the innovation took a bit to start. I think now it's starting quite a bit with all the Proptech hype. And I think the blockchain will not conquer it. It will, like the use cases that are powered by blockchain will conquer it. And that's currently the challenge to the blockchain community, to really provide them. So I guess it will take another 5 years for really see, like where you say, okay, well, this is a solution that is unique to blockchain and really changes something with real estate. But before that, we will see like solutions like where you maybe don't really see that it's that's a blockchain, but still that helps us working with real estate. Okay, Rembrandt Telberse is asking a long question. So please just get back to me, and I will. I'm happy to help there. Paul, in your use case, internal lease contract, is the payment included in blockchain transactions? No, not yet. That's one of the challenges, obviously, because we have a corporate SAP system, and nobody is allowed to enter that system. But obviously, that would be the nice use case to really use like the quality of blockchain for payment. But this will take a couple of years before that to happen, especially in a large company. Maybe in smaller companies you can try that out, but in a large company I don't see that happening very time soon. Paul is asking if yes in euro currency or cryptocurrency. Okay, this is a follow-up question. No, as I said, it's not, and well, that's a question. I don't see cryptocurrency there. It should be maybe in a corporate coin or something like that. That could be possible, at least for internal payments. So Ross is asking again, some people have concerns about the immutability of blockchain if quantum computing arrives. This is likely to be some time away, but do you have any views? Yes. Yes, it's true. Some people, that's one of the challenges to blockchain. But I mean, blockchain is not like one solution. I mean, then there are so many blockchains out there. There are many consensus systems, like the kind of verifying systems that are used for blockchain, and everything is changing still. And obviously, if we have very much stronger computers, like the example I described with kind of overpowering the system and kind of writing the new truth, that would be more likely to happening. But I think I'm pretty sure that things will evolve parallel to that, and I'm not so worried that this will be happening because on the blockchain side we will see some solutions at the same time. Yes, I'm sure you can have the slides. I'm not sure, but otherwise contact me directly. And Augustina, again, is the smart contract already being used for real estate contracts? No, as I said, it's in a use case. It is, yeah, that's part of my vision to use something like that. In future, right now, I would, like the use case I did, I compare quite, yeah, like it's a workflow engine powered by a blockchain as the first step to show something that actually can work. So great, thanks a lot. I mean, happy for all these questions. So please, you see my contact details here. Please get in touch. Well, I just see there's a typo in my email. That's not very good. So it's a FIBREE with an R. I thank you for your attention. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you, Achim, for your time and your beautiful keynotes. It was very informative. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Global Proptech Online, have a nice evening, everyone, and hope to see you soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.